Did you start cooking with your grandma?
I don't actually remember cooking with my grandma, but I remember watching her cook because we were living with her. And she, every Friday night, made her own noodles for the chicken soup, and I remember watching her do that. I remember watching her bake honey cake when she forgot to put the honey in and would open the oven and stir it in and then say, "Don't eat the corners because they won't be sweet."
Everyone's favorite matzo balls.
Okay.
What's the first step?
First step, eggs. Beat them up a little bit and get it mixed. Whoops. Pour in, that's 1/4 cup of chicken stock. Actually, this is pretty much the recipe on the box of Manischewitz.
Oh.
And this is the salt.
What's
This
that?
is schmaltz.
What's schmaltz?
Schmaltz is rendered chicken fat.
How do you render chicken fat?
You render chicken, if I can get this open, you render chicken fat by taking pieces of chicken from the chicken.
It looks like butter.
And it does look like butter. And it smells yummy.
Oh, it smells like roasted chicken.
It's got a lot of onion in it.
So that's the good, bad part of the
That's
chicken.
the good, bad part of the chicken.
Yum. That's where all the flavor comes.
And that's where the flavor comes from. And this was in the original recipe. And that's about 1/4 cup.
Can I make
You want to beat? When it's in the refrigerator, it congeals and it does look like butter. You can continue to beat, and I will put in, and this is a cup of matzo meal. We couldn't find matzo meal in the store.
So what did you use?
So we went to the manager and we said, "When are you getting the matzo meal in?" And this was just the week before Passover. And he said, "Well, you know, it's seasonal." And I said, "Yeah, this is the season." Now this basically is done. And that's what it looks like. And it's soupy and liquidy and mushy.
So now what?
And now, in order to get it to congeal again and for the matzo meal to absorb the liquid and the egg, it goes into the refrigerator. It could go in overnight or at least for a few hours. So that's what we're doing now.
Okay.
And we will come back to that later.
Awesome.
I started cooking when my mother went back to work and I was in 7th grade. And she would prepare part of dinner the night before, and I'd put it in the oven the next day because my sister didn't want any part of the kitchen. Now I have dampened my hands with a little bit of cold water, and I'm taking
Oh, should I do
a
that?
spoonful, and we roll. All right, and roll it around. You have to be real quick and drop it in.
Dropping.
Don't put your fingers in the hot.
Not putting my fingers in the water. Yeah, we just rolled balls together.
Yes, we
Grandma.
did. And we weren't even playing croquet. Each of you thought that it was done special just for you. So when I had everybody together at one time, they said, "Oh, Grandma made the chicken for me." "Oh no, she made it for me." "Oh no, she made it for me." Because I had had you come stay overnight individually, so you each thought that was your special dish.
Grandma's special chicken. So
Yes,
what's
you
the
are.
first step?
Well, the first step is I buy skinless, boneless chicken thighs.
Uh-huh.
And these have been washed. And I'm going to trim some of the fat off.
Do you use that fat in the schmaltz?
I do use this fat in the schmaltz. And then you're going to go pound these out. Anyhow, I'm going to let this continue over there and we'll go on with what else
right.
gets done.
I'll take the
Take
plate
the
too.
plate. So I use some Italian breadcrumbs and an equal amount of matzo meal. So we're just gonna, and this is garlic powder. This is Lowry seasoned salt. I don't know if we can give a commercial.
And that's it?
Big deal. I taste it to see if I can taste the salt. Years ago we used Crisco for everything, but we kind of stopped doing that. So I'm going to crack 4 eggs.
Oh, shells.
Oh, shells are a
Rookie
little
mistake,
extra
Grandma.
calcium.
Here, I got it.
And now it's down to 2/3. So
Splish splash.
about 1/3 of a cup. to speak between pounds?
Yeah, like, if you wanted to.
I think you're going to have to edit a lot of the pounding out. Hi. I am breading the chicken, and I'm taking the chicken.
Aren't you supposed to put it in flour before that, though?
No, that's not how I do it. You want to know how I do it or how somebody else
I
does it?
want to know how you do it.
Okay, I put it in the egg and milk wash. I put it in the crumbs. There's a way you're supposed to do it with one hand into the dry and the other hand into the wet, which I never quite seem to get right. So I get both my hands pretty gooey.
I dip, you flour.
Okay, that works. It was always something easy to do for the grandchildren because I always had chicken in the freezer. And I always had some kind of breadcrumbs or matzo meal.
You could bribe us with chicken tenders.
And I could, yeah, and you all like chicken tenders. So I did chicken. And that's how you each thought I was making it just for you. Because you'd come sleep over Saturday nights because you were very thoughtful and thought Grandma shouldn't be alone. My mother made veal cutlets. So she used veal instead of chicken, which was readily available then. Now it's very expensive and not always available, so I sort of did it with the chicken.
Can you fit it?
Yeah, we can squish it in. There we go. Want a sample?
Oh, you don't have to ask me twice. Does it matter which piece I take?
No, take a big piece, take a little piece. I already took a piece. How come I use the which? The thighs?
The thigh.
I think they taste better. I think when you do it out of the white meat, it kind of dries out. And I happen to like the dark meat better. And I found out that the whole family likes the dark meat better. Even the people that say they like white meat, they like dark meat better.
No, it tastes better.
Probably the honey cake,
Uh-huh.
which we mentioned. And she did something called elzel. What's elzel? Elzel is taking the skin of the neck of the chicken and stuffing it and then roasting it alongside the chicken.
Sounds
And
different.
it was a traditional dish that went with it.
Ah.
And I'm trying to think of what it was stuffed with. It was probably stuffed with a mixture of matzo meal and onions and paprika, because I remember it having slightly a red tinge to it, and chicken fat. Okay, well, you start with a pre-baked pie crust that you have pierced the bottom of so it doesn't get lumpy. And you cut the strawberries in half after you've washed them and hulled them, and put them on paper towels so the extra moisture is out of them, because you don't want the moisture into the pie crust
Why?
because it'll get yucky.
Does it matter which direction?
Whichever way it goes so that it will fit and get a couple more rows in. All right, now we're going to take the rest of these and cut them in half again. You can cut them right on the board.
Whose recipe is this, Grandma?
That was my mother's, so it's your great-grandmother's.
You want the ones that are done in here?
Yeah. And into this goes a cup of sugar,
Why cornstarch?
because it binds it, and 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And we start out with 3 pints of strawberries.
You've been doing this recipe long enough that you memorized it?
Oh yeah.
More
made
Wawberries?
We made it fuller, yes. Your brother always called it Wawberries. He opened the refrigerator once when he was little, and he looked inside and went, "Grandma, no Wawberries." All right, now this goes on the stove. And that's one of the reasons you have to keep stirring, because you don't want to burn the whole mess. Sari's big word today is yum.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's so
Everything is yum. And berries from different parts of the country have a different water content. And I know when we lived in Florida, the berries were very watery, and it was very difficult to make the pie come out good because it never congealed. Okay, so I've removed the finished strawberries and I'm putting them in a cold water bath in the pot to cool down, because you can't put the hot on top of the cold because it will release the liquid out of those fresh berries and make it all soggy. So this has to cool down, and we'll put it on top of this.
Got
And this is what the finished pie crust and pie looks like. And now we're going to whip up some whipped cream and decorate it. And that will be ready to serve. I'm most grateful for my children, for the spouses they've picked who I love, and for the grandchildren that they've given me. And now there's a great-grandchildren, so that's kind of a complete life for me.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me happiest, is to be with everyone.
Hello, how you doing? Party started?
Let's go. This is Grandma's tureen. I don't know. Yes.
I liked it. I mean, it's long, Irishman.
I take more pride in the fact that she's passed it down to my wife, who's passed it down to my daughter, and who's passed it down to our nieces, and it's something that's going to carry on through the family. My grandma made the best banana bread cake.
There's nothing I would tell her other than I love her and I love all the food and keep it coming. My grandma makes the best breaded chicken and gingerbread cookies in the world.
I think one thing I haven't told her is that I think because my mom always was so welcoming and having everybody over at our house growing up and always cooking for all of our friends and making it very comfortable for everyone to be at our house, that my house and my husband, our house became the house everybody hung out at. My grandma made the best purple jello mold. She really did.
So glad we got to do this together. It was a really nice experience for me. I love you, and I'm very thankful that we got to have this day together. It was a lot of fun for me.
You're very welcome.
That concludes another great episode of My Grandma Makes the Best. I've got to go help do some dishes and eat some more food. So I will see you guys next time. Have a great one. Oh my God.
I bought the wrong kind of bouillon, and I served purple rice.